Well, finding love isn't an impossible mission for Tom Cruise anymore. It looks like he's been spotted at multiple helicopter locations throughout London with Anna De Armas, and people, and TMZ specifically is reporting that they are smiling every time they're together, which indicates quite possibly that they are in love. Congrats to both Tom Cruise and Anna De Armas.
You're in danger, girl.
Are you worried?
It's I would say she's a great candidate for if you need just like a figure that doesn't lend too much personality or further questions.
It's giving figure.
It's giving womanly shape.
Wow. I don't know too much about Anna De Armas. I don't think I've seen one film that she's been in, despite her being at the top of the heap,
Yeah.
so to speak, in terms of
Was she in
actors.
a Mission Impossible?
You
Or
know,
was it Bond?
I think she might have been in Bond, maybe one of the Bonds. I mean, I have so much access to a computer, and so
I think she was
Anna?
in a Bond. Like she was like an extra
Oh,
Bond.
totally she was. Oh, of course she was. She was in, I remember, I can imagine her and James Bond kind of fighting in No Time to Die. Yes, she definitely was. I remember that. I think Tom Cruise, how do I say this without getting in trouble?
Don't
No,
make
just kidding.
Xenu mad.
No, I'm just kidding. The jury's still out if they actually have found love, but you can tell from some of Tom Cruise's past relationships that not everything went well with Katie Holmes, Nicole Kidman.
I saw an old headline. There's that Twitter account, like Pop Culture died in 2009, and they always post old tabloid headlines from over the years. And back in the day, he auditioned Sofia Vergara before Katie Holmes was the choice. So
Wow.
that kind of makes sense. Like,
Yeah, I think David Miscavige liked, well, allegedly, and if a squirrel buster comes to my house, I will be so pissed. But allegedly, I think David Miscavige, in a team of people, thought that Katie Holmes made a lot more sense.
Yeah.
If I remember going clear.
yeah, she was also pretty like harmless of a choice. Like she doesn't have too much fire. Like she's just kind of like, you kind of gloss over her a little bit.
Allegedly, Tom Cruise was upset because he didn't want her to be. Well, who knows if this is true? But when Batman came around and they needed what's that person's name? That character?
No idea.
Yeah, apparently, Tom Cruise. Well, he didn't want Katie Holmes to get that kind of Batman spotlight and be in that second one, so they had to recast with Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
Well, too bad. I think that despite saying all that, maybe this is truly the one for Tom Cruise. Have I told you that they don't know where Tom Cruise lives? There's no evidence that he lives anywhere. Have we talked about that?
He probably goes up to space every night.
It's so wild that at that level that he could hide even like where he lives, his home. They don't know. They think it's somewhere in the woods of London, but they sent this one reporter to go investigate. It was a great article, and they went into the woods and they stumbled upon this mansion, but like no one was living in there. It was really weird. So
He has like a Shamia's closet tube, but it like goes like all the way into the sky.
I think so too. I hope he writes a memoir someday, a no holds barred, unfiltered memoir about every decision he made
Need
throughout
for
life.
Speed, Tom Cruise.
Need for Speed. Ooh, you mean is that the memoir title?
Yeah.
Yeah, Need for Speed. I like that. There's
From OT 10 and back.
Oh.
Whatever.
Oh yeah. Oh, if I thought about it, probably off mic, we could come up with like 6 or 7 great ones if Tom Cruise needs them.
Yeah. Well, we should go. I wonder if he's going to go. I've said this before. I should blur the lines on if I am serious or not. Maybe I'm just kidding, but I get all of the Scientology mail from a former tenant, and there's a big festival coming up, like OT Fest or something, and we were saying we should go.
It looks. You're joking, and I'm joking too. But in this joke world, it looks so cool, and they have the address, and you get a +1. And as long as we dress formal attire, you and I wink, wink, could go to this joke
Let's
festival
get
if we wanted to.
a rubber mask made in Mission Impossible style, and you could be Tom Cruise and I'll be Anna De Armas.
That would be awesome.
Oh my God. Like, right this way, sir.
That would be so fun. And I go, because we don't have the voice, modulators to but other than that, it's a perfect plan. Right this way, Miss De Armas and Mr. Cruise. Wow, they would be blown away if Tom Cruise and Anna De Armas showed up and it was us.
We're like, thank you.
Yeah, that's really fun. Well, let's get ready and think about Scientology Fest. I'm excited for it. I love that it's just an open invite to anyone. So maybe we'll release the details or whatever. But you and I have to say, we've got to stop talking about Scientology because we are so close to getting squirrel busters coming to our house.
No, but I'm also like, maybe we could use them. Like we might need that little business boost that they offer, you know?
If for some reason, I forget what they do with those videos. I think David Miscavige just like watches them or something. But did you watch that Louis Theroux Scientology movie?
No, I don't think so.
He gets firsthand squirrel busted completely.
Okay.
It's this guy that shows up to your house. I think there's only 3 of these guys, and they wear GoPros on their head. They wear shirts that say Squirrel Busters, and they just film the shit out of you. And they go, "You don't like your privacy being invaded? Well, look what you're doing to Scientology." And it's like this one guy, there's this guy named Mike, there's this guy named Greg, and they just show up to your house. But if that happens to me, I will be so pissed. But like you're saying, maybe if they gave us the footage, it'd be kind of fun because then we could, I don't know, we'd have ourselves on camera.
But I'm saying maybe we should join them.
To stop other people?
Maybe they could teach us how we could make more money.
Oh, you mean not the squirrel busting unit, but you mean Scientology? Scientology.
I mean? Yeah, we'll do what they ask, but like,
I would do squirrel buster unit first. It's definitely better than
it's like Sea Org.
Sea Org is much worse. I don't know if they still make people sign that contract. Well, let's not talk about this because I'm afraid. I'm definitely afraid of squirrel busters coming to my house, and also I'm afraid of our Scientology little turtle cuties because I don't want to offend them too much.
Maybe they could DM us, tell us if there's some tests we could do or some modulations we could do to our energy field so that we could be better at making a podcast and monetizing it.
Yes, absolutely, and I'm sure they have great advice. They probably have a full podcast unit at Scientology. I do want to say for little turtle cuties that are entering Scientology for the first time, they do tell you up front that the Xeno stuff is not true. They say whatever you've read off the internet is not true. By the time you get to OT 4 or 5, they're going to show you that Xeno mythology. So don't let them fool you if you're just getting on the bridge now. I just want to say that as a turtle time warning. Is that okay?
You have something to look forward to. Trust.
Yes. So good. Okay. Well, in addition to Tom Cruise, I think that there was some other news that you and I wanted to talk about. First of all, I think we have to say with confidence, with all the confidence I can muster from a wonderful source, we have heard it now that Vanderpump Rules, this new iteration, some might call it a disgrace, is starting filming beginning April within the SUR walls, and they have 14 cast members that are ready to rock and roll. We don't know who's going to be a friend of, who's going to be an actual cast member. I'm sure that's stuff that they're going to do as the season progresses. Like if one friend of, who they thought was a friend of, starts being really fun, they'll be like, oh, you're full-time. They'll navigate that during filming, but that's the details that we know as of now. How does that make you feel?
When I read it, I was like, I thought it already started, but I guess before, originally there was, it was a different, like they changed what the setup was going to be, I guess, since last time.
I think they put some cameras in there. Alex Baskin goes, Lisa, do you really have 14 diamonds in the rough at SUR working there right now? And they filmed it, and maybe it was probably also to help negotiations, so that Lala and Sheena and everybody got wind that they were filming something at SUR, so that they could be like, hey, are you really gonna ask for more money now? Look how easily we can start from scratch and fire all of you. So I think that they just did an initial test to see if there was actual magic still within the SUR walls. And I guess, given that they weren't going to bring back the original cast, they said there's enough here that at least it will quite possibly be better than Southern hospitality. It can't get much worse.
Where in your soul Is there any space where we could imagine that it would be any good?
Yes. Yes, and I've been so hard on it, but only because I have such devotion to the cast, and like I said before, the format of Vanderpump Rules is not at all what made that show a masterpiece.
Yeah.
It was those 8 or 9 beautiful, wonderful people that shone like diamonds within those walls, and that's the reason why it lasted for 11 seasons, because of that perfect chemistry between those dynamic cast members. The odds that there are 14 people just like that in the Sir Walls, it's not high, but the odds that Alex Baskin and Lisa Vanderpump and the Bravo powers that be know what they're doing with whatever magic is within those walls, I would say there's a 60 to 70% chance that you and I end up enjoying what we witness in there. I do think so. It's just that I have to keep that a complete separate thought from the fact that I still get so pissed off, and I think it's awful what they did to the original cast. And you know, and I don't like reboots. I mean, they've had a really horrible we've seen awful examples of reboots in the past. RHOA was obviously the worst iteration, so it could be really, really bad. But
Yeah.
you know, I'm not going to just not give it a chance. I mean, what the hell would be wrong with me if I did that?
Yeah, at least we do have the valley on the side, which is like if there was a RHOA on the side that had Sonia and Ramona and Luann or something, at least we would still have that and wouldn't be as pissed off about the reboot, I guess.
Yeah,
you know?
it's like we got RHOA Legacy for Vanderpump Rules, and the Valley is going to be an option for some of those people to be brought back on. So you're right. We kind of get our we don't get to have our cake and eat it too, because I didn't want the cake.
Carl ate it.
Oh my God, we didn't talk about. Oh yeah, we talked about it on Patreon, but well, should we segue off of Vanderpump Rules? What do you? I mean,
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, the Bravolebrities are busy. Carl has a book called Cake Eater, and then like 10 other people have podcasts now that didn't have them before. Starting with Bryn Roney, which talk about Q score. I don't think anyone I've ever heard wants that.
I don't know. You know, Bryn, people... yeah, you're right. I don't know who the last Bryn defenders are, but it's called Please See Below. And
Yes.
it's a Ringer podcast. The Ringer, which is a podcast network that I absolutely love. I'm not totally sure why the first Bravolebrity to be on the Ringer network was Bryn Whitfield. I'm not exactly sure how that happened. I don't also know what Please See Below means in reference to Bryn in any way.
I think she's trying to tell us that she's a business bitch and that it's giving email language. Like she's like, I'm so in my office era. But even though we still don't know what she does for a living, I just looked at the Instagram for it. It has 1,700 followers. The little tagline is, as if the world needs another fucking podcast.
Wow. But still, be that as it may, though, right?
And there's also there's an image of like a little spaceship going into a tunnel of Delulu.
Oh,
And
I gotta check that stuff out.
There's a weird Mona Lisa, like a ratchet Mona Lisa.
This is on the official Please See Below Instagram. Wow. Okay. I don't say Please See Below in emails a lot. Do you?
Over the years, or see attached, so and so CC'd. It's like part of that little bag of tricks.
Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. Well, congratulations to Bryn. That is coming out tomorrow for everyone on the Ringer Podcast Network. We'll see how it goes. I'll be interested to see what kind of stuff she talks about there. And then not only Bryn getting a podcast and announcing one, but also Aaron Leachy and Abe Leachy. They have a podcast about, I believe it's about sex, and it's called Come Together. With Aaron and Abe Leachy.
It's giving They Came Together, the David Wayne movie with Paul Rudd and Amy Poehler.
It is. It's about, yes, it totally is. It's about love, sex, marriage, relationships, friendships, and business. So for the Aaron heads, you get a podcast. For the Bryn heads, you get a podcast. And then, not last and not least, Michelle from the Valley has a podcast called The Pursuit of Sassiness on iHeart. I am excited for this one.
She am I crazy? She's dull.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I'll go. Well, I won't say that. I'm still getting to know Michelle, but you
She's
might
not
wonder,
giving a wordsmith entertainer.
Yeah, the jury's still out. The jury's still out. We'll see. Pursuit of Sassiness, and last but certainly not least, I like this one. Casual Chaos with Gia Giudice. This is also on the iHeart network. So the iHeart contracts went out, and that is amazing. I'm excited to see what the hell Gia is up to as well. The one thing I'll say is that there are a lot of podcasts. Obviously, we say this as you and I are one. This is one. But a lot of, I would say about only 4 out of 10 of these Bravolebrity podcasts end up lasting over 6 or 7 episodes. So what will the podcast future look like truly, in 2 months from now or 3 months from now? We don't know. But congrats to these
Welcome to the club.
Yeah, that's awesome. More sources of you and I having to get news from them to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, as we know, there was briefly a direct competitor of Turtle Time that floundered.
Oh, of course. Are you talking about the one that was named the same as us, Ramona and Avery's? Yeah, you and I lasted so much longer than that.
They didn't even try.
Time. I know, it was getting good. I liked it.
She's at Mar-a-Lago too much. She's not in New York ever.
Yeah, Ramona dropped that thing like a bad habit. She goes, Avery, I love you so much, but this is not yielding enough, money for me. But, congrats to this, to this new crop. I'm excited. Michelle's is coming just in time for the Valley, coincides with the Valley. And can I say something regarding the Valley?
Yeah, not too much.
No. This isn't going to break any embargo at all. But I did get to watch season 2, episode 1 of The Valley, the premiere of it. And I'm not going to spoil anything or break an embargo. That was the last thing I'll do. I just want to say it is so good and so wild that everyone in the world is going to be having the time of their life once Valley gets started. It starts ripping right from the start, and everybody is going to have fun. So I just want to say, April 15th, get ready, grab a friend, start saying, I've heard the Valley is good, because it absolutely is. Tell everyone.
Yeah. Do you think they'll get a reunion this year?
They have to. If Southern Hospitality gets one, the Valley definitely gets one. I don't know what it was. I think the Valley really started in a place where it was kind of rushed, and they wanted to get some of those moments on camera, and it wasn't fully fleshed out, and maybe contract negotiations didn't include a reunion, and then they didn't realize how much it was probably needed. But I bet they got their shit together for this one, I have to say.
Was the Southern Hospitality one in the clubhouse this
time?
Oh
yes, it was. And it was like 40 minutes. And you can tell Andy Cohen is he's no offense to him. I think he was probably just tired because he doesn't know what the fuck is going on in the show. He doesn't give a shit about this cast. He goes, what were you doing? He goes, Maddie, you found out that an entire cheating scandal last season was completely fake. I'm sorry. Okay, let's talk to Joe Bradley for a second. It's it was the wildest thing I've ever seen in my life. It's it is a AI generated Bravo show in every way. It absolutely nothing has. Oh, I've already ranted about this. I'm going to wait for you to talk about it.
I keep trying to put it on and getting so disinterested that I can't do it.
Yeah, you got to just grin and bear it. You got to just let that thing load in the background and let it go. It does not get any better. The only spark of life is that they add these 2 new cast members in season 3. I think their names are Molly and Shaban, and they actually treat it like it's a real show where they need to create conflict, and they confront Emmy about something, and it is like the wildest moment I've ever seen, because it's like the one good moment in this entire 3-season run, and Emmy has this reaction that is like astonishing, and that was the one time it had a little bit of life, but then other than that, it just falls back into its same patterns of just being completely fake and boring.
Yeah.
Well, I know you'll watch it someday. I can't wait for you to see it.
I tried to put it on yesterday when I was hungover, and I was like, nah.
It's rough. Sorry to Southern Hospitality heads. People sort of have, when I talked, I made a very mean-spirited Southern Hospitality TikTok, and people kind of say like, yeah, I also know it's just complete garbage, but I just put it on and like let it wash over me because like it's good enough. You know what I mean? Yeah. So some people, that's their viewing pleasure, is just to let stuff wash over them.
Yeah, I get that.
Me too. All right. Any other news that we just have to talk about before we get into our Southern Charm discussion?
I don't think so. Let's go in.
Wow. Okay, good. How did you feel about this episode of Southern Charm? It was called The Telephone Game because there is some stuff going on in Charleston, of which quite possibly the source of this information. What's the telephone game? It's when you say something to someone and then that gets misconstrued by someone else, and then when it gets to a new recipient, it's
even less accurate.
Yeah, so that is happening in Charleston. And again, I thought that this was going to be about JT. I said, finally, the telephone game. That accurately describes Craig giving the wrong information from that virtual golf session where he said that JT called Patricia a bitch, and we know that wasn't true. So finally, we're getting the scene where that is confronted, and Craig has to account for lying to the cast for 15 episodes. And that's not the case.
No.
A new telephone game erupts
Yes.
at the very end of this episode, where again JT is painted to look like an absolutely despicable monster, and it gets rectified, you could say. We'll talk about it, but he nips that in the bud in real time. But you can definitely see that JT is at his wit's end with what he can tolerate from this cast on this show, and if he didn't already quit over the Bahamas shit, you can imagine that he definitely quit after this episode. I don't know when he quit, but there's enough justification for him quitting.
Isn't there only one more episode?
Yes. So I'm like,
so
when
he
did he
quit like with one episode to go?
Yeah, I have no idea when he quit. It makes no sense. We'll talk about it when we get to the end of this. And I would say that it was ultimately, not my favorite episode of Southern Charm.
Yeah.
Not too much happened until we get to the JT thing, and the JT issue, it kind of embodies what's been going on this entire season. So that was compelling to watch in real time, as JT has to swat away another rumor that would ruin him for life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then it felt like on like the Craig end of stuff, we got a good amount of Paige, and this is maybe the first time where you start to be like, oh, I think Paige might have had one foot out the door. I mean, I guess we're getting pretty close to when the breakup actually was, so that would make sense.
Yes. Yeah, I would like to hear your thoughts on that, because I'm so skewed, because every scene with Craig and Paige, I say this is the best relationship I've ever seen, and I was always predicting that they would get married and they would be together forever. So I didn't sense this one foot out the door. So let's talk about that when we get there. Okay. So Craig and Paige are in bed. They slept until 1:30 p.m. How'd you feel about that?
I didn't think that his business attitude, get up and go spirit would allow for that.
I thought early to bed, early to rise for both of them, but I bet that Bahamas trip took it out of Craig, and Paige and him allowed themselves a morning to sleep in. And don't we all deserve that?
Oh, definitely. So then he fills her in on like the Austin conversation. I guess he was pretty straightforward. I feel like he was trying to skew it a little bit to make Austin seem like an asshole, but he was like, he said, which is insane, that I was trying to stay sober to keep up an image. And I'm like, well, anyways. Like,
it honestly sounded like he was going to take 2 steps back in that conversation and get all pissed off at Austin again as he was describing what happened to Paige. But really, he wanted to make it more like palatable. Is that a word? Palatable? Mm-hmm. For Paige to be like, you should have seen me in the ring with him. Like, I let him have it. He was insane. It really was much more heartfelt, and meaningful, and sweet than that. And I was almost like, Craig, don't rile yourself up. I'm afraid you're going to get pissed at Austin again.
Yeah, he was like spinning around on the countertops. But I couldn't tell. Paige also just seemed maybe like she was tired or just woke up, because she didn't really have anything to say here, and I couldn't tell if she was just like, I'm tired, I don't really want to participate, or if it's a topic that makes her uncomfortable.
I got a sense maybe a little bit of both. It's 1:45, you just woke up at 1:30, you're tired, but also I was like, does she want to be a part of a conversation where Craig is labeling himself in real time the word addict? I felt like she was like, I'm going to give you space to account for whatever you want to account for here without me adding my 2 cents. And it's only until later that she starts to give her view on how she viewed Craig's relationship with alcohol. But she doesn't step into the addict conversation, I felt.
Yeah. He reveals that his family has a history of alcoholism, so it's something that he's aware of. And so he's saying, like, if I knew someone that said they were going to quit drinking or stop drinking, he would understand why. And he's like, I guess Austin is just kind of like ignorant to that, or like, which he also says again in another conversation that, and Paige says the same thing of like, a lot of times people's view of addiction, it has to be so extreme. Like you wake up chugging like hard liquor because your body will freak out without it. And it's like, there's a sliding scale of like, is alcohol serving me positively or not? Like, you could cut it just because it makes you feel like shit, or because it's making you like, you have a bad attitude when you drink, or like you make poor choices. You don't have to be like, your life is about to end, you know?
Or why does one need, a glass of wine every single night? You could even be like, that's too much for me personally, because it's like, why do I need that? So they talk about that again. Paige goes, and just so everyone knows, when you were on alcohol or drunk, you were a completely different person than yourself, which you and I have talked about this, how alcohol affects different people. Some people get, blushed cheeks and they're all cute and they're silly and they, they love their friends and they want to hug them and they start crying. And then some people, turn into nightmare versions of themselves and start putting lampshades on their head and start breaking glass and screaming. Yeah. And apparently, I think Paige thinks that Craig was more of the latter category, where she didn't even recognize him. Cut to, again, you and I, the one clip we reference, it's shocking how many times this is coming back. It's Craig after he broke a bunch of beer bottles all over the floor of a cabin that they're renting, which still makes no sense to me at all. And he's pissed off because he doesn't want to clean up after himself when there's broken glass everywhere. And then Kyle goes, he's such a fucking diva. In the clip,
Amanda's like on her hands and feet being like, there's glass here, there's glass here, there's glass everywhere, and Paige is just like watching from the balcony upstairs, like so stressed out.
Yeah. And then Craig says that a lot of his not higher power, but a lot of his rationale for why he's doing this is Paige. She's his number one reason for getting better, and he looked in her eyes probably after that winter house trip when she was staring at the balcony down at him, and he was looking up, broken glass surrounding him, a lampshade on his head, and he said, I know that I was not the person that Paige would want to marry at that point. So she's a huge reason why he tried to help himself in his relationship with alcohol.
Yeah, he was like, I'm lucky that Paige was still around when I made that decision. And then it ends on a very strange note that I was like kind of freaked out by. She goes, he's like, so thank you for, waiting with me through my bottom or whatever. And she goes, just know, if I ever need to leave with the kids in the middle of the night, I will. And he goes, I know, because you make your own money. And I was like, why does she have that visual in her mind already? Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, that's like the saddest, scariest place you could ever be in life.
Right. Yeah, so it definitely ends. That was not probably the best moment for that scene to end on, especially Craig's response makes no sense.
Like, they've talked about this before. He was like, I know,
You have
because
money.
you have your own money. Like, you can escape if I get into, like, a rage and, like, put our family at risk.
Unlike someone who has no money and they can't do anything else about it, if I start to drink and ruin our lives. I thought possibly, let me just say, benefit of the doubt, even though it makes no sense, it was not a good ending to the scene. I think Paige was still playing on that worst case version of Craig thing where she was talking about all of the different versions of extreme alcoholism that she pointed to. Like, she said beating people up, and she said something. So maybe, quite possibly, that was her being funny and making a same reference as to the worst extreme version of alcohol. And Craig just had kind of a dumb response to that. He kind of checked out. He had to focus on the eggs, and he goes, "'Cause you have money." I know. And it's just like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it quite possibly could have been that.
I could see that. But I was also like, if she wasn't joking, then there's like some weird shit that we don't even know about.
Just remember, I can always leave in the middle of the night with the kids. I know, honey, because you make money. It's like, what the hell?
It's like,
I just thought
oh
it was
my
one of
God.
those, they were probably like, can we cut those last 10 seconds out? And the producer said, no.
No way.
Okay.
So yeah, then we get the like sister like conversation. It's the same thing, but Austin with his sister, who I'm like, they should use her more. She's like adorable. They clearly like get along like gangbusters.
Megan said the same thing.
Yeah.
Get Austin's sister in there as a cast
Yeah,
member. You need
I'm
cast. She's
surprised
great.
no one's like hooked up with her.
Who do you think would?
Any of them.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, she's great. She's always funny. She has the Austin dynamic, her getting into the Southern Charm universe. I'm sure it's been broached, and maybe that's just not something that she wants in her life. But they have a great rapport, Austin and his sister. It's so sweet.
It brings out a good side of him. Like,
Totally.
he seems nice, and I love that their family all bond over a cocktail. Like, that's every time he's with his parents or her sister, they're always like opening a bottle immediately. He's telling her about the Craig conversation. He's like, I guess I was ignorant about the addiction stuff. I should have known, because he had that past with Adderall. And he says here that, he always thought it had to be more extreme. The sister's like, yeah, it doesn't really work that way. And he tells her that they both cried, and she's like, oh my God, that's so sweet. And he's like, according to Craig, we're in a good place, but he seems a little, maybe he's like, it's up to him, kind of.
Yeah. I think they're, as we learn in this episode, they're taking, one step forward to get back that trust in their friendship. And it seems like they're having a good start with that scene that we see later with Paige. Okay, Madison and her mom. This was wonderful for me, this scene. First of all, Hudson and Brett love playing squirt gun. This is about the third time I've seen it. I love it. They're running around the streets of Charleston, squirting each other with water. And then Madison tells her mom, they go into this beautiful study. Did you like that study?
Yeah, her house is for sale. You could buy it.
Who can?
You can.
I would love to. How much do you think? Did you see how much?
It was $1 million something, I think.
All right. So 10% of that, roughly around 100,000. Okay. I love this study. I think that because this is prompted by them wanting a little bit more space, right? Because Madison is welcoming a baby girl into the world. But she goes, I don't know where Hudson gets his smart mouth from. He's been saying, like, things that kids say, smart mouth. Like, what is that? Cursing, talking back.
Sassy.
Yeah,
her mom's like, wonder who he got that from. She also updates her that Brett's test came back and there's no cancer, which is why they just immediately started to try to have a kid, which obviously worked immediately because she's pretty pregnant right now in the real world.
Yes, what a huge relief. I mean, that was amazing. That was kind of a cloud hanging over this entire season. I knew how sad Madison was. You could see it in all of her scenes. And so that's, like, obviously the best news in in life that you can receive, that he is healthy, and that's very sweet.
Yeah. I'm
and
also relieved for her that it is a girl, so that she doesn't have to keep trying until it's a girl. She could just be done now.
Yeah, totally. She got her the dream that she wanted. I did like the story where they said Hudson gets his smart mouth from his mom, and she goes, "Do you remember, Madison, when you went to a Chili's and you ordered a 3-course meal on your own at 6 years old from them?" I thought that was a really interesting Madison anecdote from her childhood.
She's been a star since day one.
Yep.
Okay, then we get a quick moment with Vanita walking her dog. She calls JT. Her scenes really are exclusively about JT this season.
She was walking the hell out of that dog.
Yeah, he's cute.
Very cute.
And she calls JT to be like, Madison and Ryan are throwing a summer soiree, presumably the finale event, and asks if he would like to be her +1, even though he's also invited, apparently.
Right. Yeah. Ryan said, hey, everyone, I'm worried about my screen time. I know it made no sense why I went on the Bahamas trip. I haven't really gotten any iconic scenes at all. I think that I'm not getting a great edit so far. I want to host the finale party, but nobody will come if I host it myself. So, Madison, can you co-host it with me so people know that they have to go to this?
Yeah. And he's like, I will go to even lower depths to get a storyline, but that's to come.
Yes.
We get Molly and Taylor being girlfriends, walking their dogs. They show a clip of all the girls in bed together in the Bahamas to show that this group all get along. Taylor is like, I feel like I kind of mended my place in the group on that trip. Molly helped with that because we all just had a good time. And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot she was kind of like an enemy.
Yeah, what about the scene when they go to an ice cream and coffee shop and they both get ice cream and coffee, and then I thought that they probably wanted to have this scene at that place, but there might have been like a bunch of looky-loos or people that were like filming them, or there wasn't good outdoor space, so they had to take all of their stuff on the run, and so they're for the rest of the scene they're having to balance melting ice cream, coffees, their dogs are pulling them. It was kind of just like a very chaotic mess for them to have this scene where they talk about
Molly
Chef.
threw her ice cream away. Ultimately.
She had to throw her ice cream away. I felt bad for her. I feel like they just couldn't stay at that restaurant for some reason.
Yeah. And then, they talk about Shep. They're saying how he was crying. He raised the sea level crying so much in the Bahamas. And we enter this sort of forced thing where Taylor is giving the blessing for Molly to pursue Shep, at least just for fun, or to like hook up or whatever. And it's a conversation that comes up for a while that I think will have payoff in the next episode. But everyone is saying, I love how people don't know how to talk about Molly as if she's like the weirdest person they've ever met. They're like, she's quirky, she's unique, she's smart, she's like, I'm like, I guess if you have like any personality whatsoever in this group, you're like nothing they've ever seen.
Totally. That is how they're treating Molly. So, yeah, she in a way, she gives her blessing. And she goes, Shep might also just be good practice, even if he might not be the one. And I was like, is that true? Is Shep good practice for a relationship? I'm
also like, I do not believe that Taylor doesn't care.
Oh, I know. I really thought that a part of this season would be, Taylor... we would see more of Taylor like having that unrequited feeling of wanting to get back with Shep and being hurt every time she saw him doing stuff with other people. But actually, it seems like it's quite possibly there's a little bit of that. But Taylor does seem a little more over it than I thought at the start of the season.
Yeah, I got like a fan cam. It was the same thing I've been seeing a lot of Bravo clips on, where it's like sad music, and it was when Taylor sees little Craig again for the first time, and Shep keeps like wiping his eyes or whatever, and I was like, I just don't know if I vacillate on if I think that they were like a great love. Like, I don't really have any heartstrings connected to them. Like, I don't really... Everyone in the comments was like, she's the one that got away and he fucked up. And I'm like, I don't think so.
No, I don't really see that either. I don't see them as this, a tragic love story of them just like not working out. I don't think they were a good match very much at all.
No.
Yeah, and in a way, Taylor deserves better than how Shep treated her. He treated her like shit. He was calling her an idiot and getting mad at her for smashing
he threw eggs at her.
Yeah, it's like Taylor. Yeah, I mean Gaston. I don't know too much about him. I mean, probably maybe not the best fit now for Taylor as well. Maybe he is. I don't know, but Taylor can find someone that treats her a lot better than Shep, and Shep can find someone that he cares about more and wants to treat better, because he was in a place where he was treating Taylor like shit, and she doesn't deserve that at all. Kristen Doty on the hot mic, or not hot mic, one of the podcasts, When Reality Hits, she said that she's been watching Southern Charm for the first time, and she said she loves Molly so much and wishes that she could be friends with her. So that quirkiness or whatever the hell Molly has got going on, Kristen loves her. She's
I
dynamic.
agree. There's a bright future with her. Like, I think she could be utilized better than she has been this season.
The best new addition this season by far, but it's only Molly and Sally, right?
Yeah, I think it's because she's like
And
older
Ryan.
too.
Yeah.
Like she keeps like making jokes that she's old or about her appearance or whatever, and I'm like, no, dude, like it's so much better compared to like Lexi on Summer House, even though she's not even as young as you would think, but she feels so young. Having someone that's like, I think Molly's 38, she has confidence and wherewithal that is refreshing.
Yeah, Molly is great. Yeah, you're right. I wish there was more scenes with her, and it wasn't just her tied to like what her and Shep are gonna do. Her band performance or whatever was one of my favorite scenes of this season. I thought that was so sweet when they all came together.
Yeah. Okay. So then we go to Shep's house. Did you notice his funny home goods sign?
No, I didn't see it. I looked all over and I could not find where that sign was. Will you please tell everyone what it says?
It said, "There will be no working during drinking hours."
That is so fun. Where did he have that placed?
It was like on the stairwell.
Whoa, on the stairwell.
So
up
like
to
on your way up.
On your way up to his house or his bedroom.
Like I think the living room is also upstairs. I don't know.
Wow. So what are drinking hours? Probably from 5 to 11 whenever you go to bed.
24 hours, baby.
Oh, really? Wow.
And he's like unpacking his Bahama bags and it's just like seashells.
Yeah, he brought a bunch of shells back from the Bahamas, which is very fun. And then he calls his father and tells Rip Rose, and he says, "Dad," he goes, "the Sienna stuff was not good. You could have raised the ocean with how many tears I shed over that relationship." And Rip says, "Son, what is meant to be will be meant to be. That was not right for you. I'm so proud of you. I love my son."
Did you like how he tried to bond with his dad through like historical terms? He was like, "I feel like a lame duck president," and I was like, "Wow, you're really just trying to communicate with him in the boomer terms that he knows and loves."
He goes, yeah, the dad, you could tell, he kind of made this huge noise on the other end, like as if, because he knew exactly what that meant. Lame duck, that's just a one and done. George H.W., Jimmy Carter, they're considered lame ducks?
I think so.
Or is it lame?
Or it's like I think you don't get anything done.
Or lame duck is the period when you know that you didn't get elected and you still have 2 or 3 months and no one cares about you because they're thinking on that's the lame duck. Did you look it up?
Yes. In the final period of office after the election of successor.
He goes, "I feel like a lame duck president, Dad." And the dad goes, "I completely understand what you mean, son." And then Shep says what we all have learned as me. I'm a 39-year-old. Everyone learns. He goes, "These bumps and bruises that you take just make life more richer, and it becomes the tapestry of your life." So he got his heart broken, but he is healing. He had fun in Cuba, it sounds like.
He is 44 years old.
I know, but remember we said he had this period of 20 years or 10 years, 15 years before Taylor, where he was just going to Republic, having casual sex,
Yeah.
Then he met Taylor. He didn't get his heart broken with Taylor. He treated her like shit, and he probably just let that relationship fizzle out. Sienna was like a first true, real heartbreak for him, and he's moving past. A little later than some people get their heart broken. That's kind of what Sally was saying in her confessional last episode. She was like, he's 44 years old. It's like, I know he's going to be fine after this.
Yeah.
You know?
I know. It's kind of shocking. Is he, why, how old is Jax? Why, I can never keep their ages straight. Who's the oldest?
I believe Jax is 45.
Yeah,
I think
45.
45.
So he's the king.
Someone's, July 11th is his birthday. I didn't know that. Okay, so Shep has gotten his heart broken, but he is healing, and he is feeling a lot better. Speaking of healing, Sally's going to have some healing to do because she wants to take the breast implants that were put in her body in 2022, February 3rd. She wants those out because they are not indicative of how she feels as a person. She did them for the wrong reasons. She said that her ex-fiance seemed like he, I'm going to say these words, loved big breasts, and so she put bigger breasts inside of her body for him. That relationship fizzled out, and now she doesn't like being someone who looks like they have implants, and she loved the previous iteration of herself. So
yeah, I was shocked when she said 2022. I was like, damn, you only had them for 2 years? Like, that sucks.
Yeah, I mean, she considers it just a full mistake. Like, I made a mistake. Like, I just want to go directly back to what I had before. I wish I never would have done this. It seems like it was prompted by that guy, this guy who like cheated on her right before they were about to get married.
Yeah, she said she's about to be a part of the itty bitty titty committee, a phrase that I said last week.
Yes. I can't believe that was referenced again. And
I'm sending blessings her way. I hope they can construct her original shape and look, because I think that can be kind of hard to match what God had made already.
Yeah, of course. Well, if I know Dr. O'Neill, he is going to do an amazing job with that surgery. And yeah, I hope it probably has already happened, right?
Yeah, should be. We'll see
right.
at the reunion. I'll be looking.
We'll see. Congrats to Sally. I'm glad that you made that decision and you're getting what you truly want for yourself. Okay.
Craig and Paige, and soon to be Austin. They're in the backyard. It feels like Paige is already like, yeah, I actually cannot live this slow of a lifestyle. Like, she like actively doesn't enjoy it. She's like, all I do when I come here is sit and eat. And Craig goes, it's great, isn't it? And she's joking, but she like rolls her eyes and makes like a face.
She's used to the hustle and bustle of New York City. I mean, you know what I mean? You step foot out your door of New York and you immediately get hit with life from every aspect. You know what I'm talking about? Because I've only been there a few times, but it is just like, it is go, go, go. Very work oriented. So then when she comes here, she's sitting in the back and she's basically just looking at bees.
Yeah. Craig should have a house in the Hamptons, because then she could just go do this there. And that is approved by New Yorkers to do that just a couple hours away.
Oh, right. Wait, so would Craig live in the Hamptons, or he'd have both houses?
Yeah, he could just live in the Hamptons year round.
Hamptons guy. That would be so cool. I live in the Hamptons.
He could have chickens there.
Oh, that would be so cool. And then Paige gets to have that New York, that quintessential kind of New York energy, where you're like, subways, and then he goes back and he's in the Hamptons waiting for her, and he gets to have more of that slow life that he loves. Yeah. That's kind of a perfect combination.
It could be like Ina and Jeffrey, where he only comes home on Friday nights, but in this case, I guess Craig is Ina, and he has like a roast chicken dinner ready every Friday.
That sounds really sweet. I mean, unfortunately, that can't be a reality now unless Paige and Craig get back together.
Yes.
Paige also, that one little tidbit is that Paige never used koozies before Craig. Craig got her into a full koozie lifestyle, and now she has them all over her New York apartment, a bunch of koozies.
Yeah, she seemed to resent that.
I know. I think she was pissed.
She also, I guess this is just her sense of humor. I don't listen to Giggly Squad, and she does it on Summer House too, but it feels like she specifically wants Craig to know that her humor is like, men are morons and I hate them all. And he's always just like, hee hee.
Yeah, there is a little bit of that humor.
But I'm like, the jokes are, she said, I don't approve of men having quality time because that's when wars ensue. She's talking about when Austin comes, they show him the bees, and she's like, the queen bee rips the male bees' dicks off when they have sex, and she's like, I'm going to introduce that to our culture or whatever. And I'm like, it's always funny when that's her humor, but also she was willing to go so far to protect Craig's image over the years and put up with like his toxic bullshit for a while before she like, it's just like, I'm like, you love this man. So it's a little bit like, I roll when the humor is so like, what is the opposite of He-Man Woman Hater Club? Like no boys allowed vibes, when I'm like, I mean, you have a boyfriend.
Right, and you loved him at a time, yeah, and we've talked about that a little bit, but it's just a well of humor that Paige likes to dip into, all that a lot, and yeah, you're right though. I mean, definitely,
I relate. It's like, it's such a curse to be straight. Like, it would be so much cooler to be gay, and then you could be like, I really don't fuck with men at all.
Right, right.
Unfortunately, she has to.
Yeah, they show Austin then comes and they show him this the bee nest. I could not believe that they actually bought bees from that bee farm. They actually
Craig
bought
loves
them.
it.
Yeah, he shows Austin the bees. They stand close and they do exactly what that you just said. I guess they go in, they have sex with the queen. She rips their I guess it is their bee's penis, and then they die about a couple hours later. It's like kind of wild.
Yeah, don't bees also die when they sting you?
I think so. God,
they can't do shit.
What an awful life. They have sex or they try to defend themselves and they just immediately die. I love bees.
Yeah. Well, I got stung on 4th of July last year, the same day that Lindsay Hubbard announced her pregnancy. I was helping a bee out of a pool and I got stung. And the initial sting wasn't so bad, but it was so itchy for like 2 full weeks.
Oh,
so that's the part that sucks.
That is so sad that you went to save its life. And then it ended up killing you, despite you helping. That is so sad. I also try to get bees out of the pools when I think that they're going to die.
It's a full-time job.
You have to get those bees out. Little Turtle Cuties and Villa Rosa VIPs, if you ever see a bee in a pool or a body of water, you got to get it out and save it, even if it's going to sting you.
Use a leaf if possible.
Yes. This was kind of interesting. Craig is handing out drinks. And he hands out, I think I saw the branding. I think he's handing out Spritz Societies. And I think I know why everybody had koozies over there. Because I think that this is a bunch of leftover Spritz Societies in his thing. And I think Paige said, bring me a koozie now. Because when Kyle is watching this and Amanda is watching this, I am not drinking a Spritz Society. She might not have even had a Spritz Society, but I just noticed that it was a little... I've never seen koozies being so prominent when a branded beverage is out, and I think that
I've seen multiple versions of, so I've seen some people on TikTok do like a Loverboy taste test where they're like, and then all the comments are like, they're so disgusting, they're horrible, I hate them. But then I saw someone else do a taste test where it was Spritz Society versus Loverboy, and then all the comments were like, Spritz Society sucks, it's disgusting, and unfortunately, even though I hate Kyle, Loverboy is good. So I don't know where the actual jury stands on the flavor test between the two. If you have thoughts on that, comment. I'm curious. I am a bad judge of that because I don't like drinks like that at all. Like, I don't like those kinds of beverages.
Yeah, I don't believe anyone, though, until you and I do a firsthand taste test with our eyes closed, because people, who hate Loverboy or who hate the Spritz Society, people are just going to say it tastes like shit because they hate Kyle or whatever. I would want to do it on our own. But you and I we did a Loverboy taste test. You remember on Patreon where we drank all of those wonderful drinks, and you and I were having the time of our life.
Yeah, some were better than others. But like I said, I really have to be put into a corner to drink a seltzer or something like that.
I understand. And I am the complete opposite. I love them. Give me an alcoholic seltzer. I'll drink it. So then Austin says, he says to himself, or no, he doesn't say to himself, he's at the patio and he goes, I got sad, Paige. I knew you were coming to Charleston. Madison would get invited. I wasn't getting invited, and I missed you both so much. And Paige, in the back of her head, is saying, I don't think that she needs to see Austin, and she also thinks it's ridiculous that Austin had such demands on Craig's time. So she's not Austin's number one fan, but she also says to him directly, she says, when Craig is in a fight with someone, I'm absolutely loyal to Craig, and I'm not going to make appointments to see you. Mm-hmm. But then the alternative is to that is that if she really liked Austin, she could have said, let's give him the benefit of the doubt and bring him over. I want to see him because I think he's really good in your life, and I appreciate him. So what's going on? And Craig would listen to her in 2 seconds.
Yeah, I don't think she cares that much. I don't think she likes him that much.
No, I don't think so either.
Especially with the Sierra stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah. Austin is giving an update on his relationship. He says that they're asking about the age gap. He's like, I actually love that she lives in Charlotte. I think it works for us. Paige goes, you're preaching to the choir, honey. And he's like, we've said I love you, but we're not in any rush to take any steps forward. He's like, I don't even need to have any conversations about next steps until we've been together 2 years. And Paige is like, yeah, everyone was on my ass the second that me and Craig started dating about where we were going to live and stuff. And she was like, I've known him for 2 months. Leave me alone.
Yeah, it's kind of, that is silly when you think about it. People were demanding that they immediately move to make their relationship work, and it was at 6 months. She's like, I don't even know this person yet, and we've talked about this before, but their entire timeline seems much longer than it actually was, 2.5 years or whatever.
Yeah. And you can tell she's sort of she's like, so there's no pressure of are we going to get married or whatever? And Austin's like, no. And you can tell she's like, fuck, I want that. No pressure. And he's like, she does want 4 kids. And Paige is like, well, she should marry Craig then, because that's what he wants. And Craig is like, well, you want 3. And she's like, no, I want 2. You don't listen to me. And he's like, well, you said that if we had 2, but you didn't get a girl, you would try again for a girl or whatever. And I was like, damn, all these bitches out here just continuing to populate the earth because they want a girl. I hope she gets one immediately, Madison, so she could just stop.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Yeah, but I didn't, when I was watching this conversation, I didn't think that was so far off, such a huge misconception that Craig had. No, I get what you're saying about that, that they just want the gender so they'll have as many kids as possible. But I just felt like Craig had just latched onto the 3 because he was like, well, I know we would try for 3 if you didn't get a girl. But then Austin also uses it. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Craig would be thrilled even if she was like, we'll have 1.
Yeah.
He'd be like, okay, fine.
Yeah, I think so too. But he kind of in his confessional, he ends up being right, so you have to give him credit. But he was like, you know what? These 2, the more I see them, they are not on the same page at all. And I think that there's tension underneath. And I was like, wow, that's the worst case scenario of what they wanted if they had continued to be in their relationship. And you went to their house and said, oh, I can feel the tension between them. They are not on the same page at all. But maybe that confessional was post-breakup, and he was... and he was indicating that he thought things were off. But I don't know. So tell me about the sense that you felt like Paige was showing us the signs that she her heart wasn't in it anymore.
Yeah. Again, she also just seemed tired, but yeah, it felt like she wanted to give as little energy as possible. She just didn't seem that thrilled to be there. And yeah, it's just the same conversations again and again. And I feel like she's starting to internally panic a little more about the fact that what he wants is on a much faster timeline than her by probably a decade. And she's starting to have to be like, I might need to escape.
Yeah. And then Austin says, I love when you and me, Paige, make fun of Craig. It's one of my favorite things to do. Let's start making fun of him right now. Look at what a dork he is. He sucks. Look at him making that meat over there. And then Craig goes, it's not easy to make fun of me. This makes me so sad. And then you you can tell that Craig is actually bummed out that they started to make fun of him, or he doesn't like that dynamic at all.
I enjoyed that dynamic. I was like,
good.
Keep it going, you guys.
Good.
Okay, then we get Vanita. This is the crux of the episode.
It really is.
Vanita calls Leva because JT and Ryan go to the same barber, apparently. And JT had been there recently. And apparently the barber then, when he was working on Ryan, claims that JT said that there's some black girl that's been coming on to me. And that's all of the context we have in the initial tea from Ryan, which I'm like, I'm just still like, who the fuck is Ryan? Like, what is happening?
Yes. Oh, totally.
And Leva is like, as the mother hen of the show, I guess, she doesn't really get too embroiled in loyalty too much. And she just goes, I don't believe that he speaks that way. I've never heard him speak that way, which she also said about the B word. And she goes, I'm not cool with that kind of telephone. I don't even know Ryan that well. So the question mark begins. So it does feel like the kind of thing where people are just going to have initial thoughts based on what they already think about JT. She's like, we got to get this cleared up. So she 30 minutes later calls to meet JT. And she's
it was like it was like an emergency, you know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It really was. I mean, in the context of the show, Leva rightfully did not let that thing linger, like the Patricia bitch comment. She said, JT, 911, get to a coffee shop right now with me. You need to know what is being said.
Yeah. There's also, I haven't really been following it because it's just been on TikTok, I think, but Leva's kind of embroiled in a racial scandal. I don't know if you could call it a scandal. I don't know if it's reached that precipice, but there was an issue at Republic where someone felt profiled in line or whatever, and then she went live on TikTok or Instagram or something and was sort of going nuts about it. So it's interesting that this is before that. So it's drama in Charleston.
There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes too, that you and I are not fully, it hasn't made it to the show, stuff about whatever the blackmail stuff that Sally is accusing JT of, which we'll talk about that towards the end.
I know, it's kind of like a question mark to the quality of the show that I have to follow so many Instagram comments, the after show, the Instagram stories, I'm like, why do I have to be a detective to put all of this ancillary information together? Because then if I miss something, someone's gonna be like, no, you didn't see that, that she commented, JT said that he PayPal'd her. Anyways, we'll get through all of that. But I'm like, I keep seeing stuff that colors all of this that I'm like, well, damn, if I'm going to talk about it, I hope I saw everything.
No, seriously, that's exactly how I feel too. I mean, we'll talk about the scene, and then we'll talk about all of the other accusations against JT that he is just constantly having to battle on his Instagram. So they talked a little bit about leading Vanita on. Again, this is a question mark because we know that the timeline is completely messed up. We don't know when the Bahamas trip happened and when Vanita knew about the girlfriend. The girlfriend says that Vanita did know. It's completely complicated, and we need so much extra textual stuff to figure out what is real here. But either way, JT, you could assume, pushed the boundaries of what his friendship with Vanita was by leading her on or doing inappropriate stuff with someone who's your friend that you know is attracted to you while you're starting a relationship with someone else. At least you can say that is not the best, most respectable behavior from JT. But they don't even think about that for a second. They go, are you going to go to this soiree? He goes, why the hell would I go to a soiree with a bunch of people who talk shit about me constantly? And then Leva goes, well, there's another thing. And JT goes, there's more?
She's like, buckle up, buttercup.
Totally.
And she's like, well, Ryan goes your barber. This is what he said. And he goes, that sounds racist. I'm not racist. And he's like, yet again, words being put in my mouth. He's so pissed. He's like, I'm tired of this friend group. Like, he essentially is trying everything in his power not to say, like, I don't want to do this fucking show anymore. Yeah. He's like, this is not fun for me. And she's like, you got to get this barber on the phone. She's like producing this, information to be cleared. She's like, you got to call him.
Yeah.
Which I would be so annoyed. I'd be like, I don't want to call that random guy. Like,
we talked about this with Stacy and TJ on Potomac. They were like, call him. Why won't she call TJ? It's because she didn't want to call him and have him say whatever the hell live.
That guy was prepped. He knew exactly what the question was, or that he knew that call was coming because everything he said was so clear. Like, if someone called me and was like, what did you say to that other guy who got his hair cut? I'd be like, I don't know. But he was like, this is what I said. And I'm so sorry if there was fallout for what I said and how I said it. Like, he already knew. So, like, they texted him or something.
Okay. I usually can, I usually would think that was a possibility, but I didn't get the sense that was the case. But maybe, but I trust you. Yeah. Because if it was a very clear-cut response to that, then it's possible. But he says that he said, what was the actual language? There's an interest with a cute black girl on the show.
Yeah, I guess the barber was like, because JT goes, did I use this string of words in any order? Like, there's some black girl or whatever. And he's like, well, what happened was I was asking you about what was going on with the show and, like, like how it was going and what basically, like, what are the storylines? And he goes, there's an interest with a cute black girl on the show, Vanita. And he's like, maybe I wasn't articulate. And so, yeah, it sounds, I'm believing him. I don't know, like, because I'm like, who is this Ryan guy? It just feels like he tried to take the tone of hearing something secondhand and, like, turn it into this villainous thing where I'm like, you didn't hear him say it.
Right.
And so, like, to turn that into a storyline, like a racial threat of, like, outing someone for saying something, which, like, the words themselves, it's all about the tonality of, like, it's not like the actual, it's not like there were, like, horrible slurs used or something like that. It's more just like the way that it's implied that he said it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's, like, just so bold to, like, decide to put that out there that I feel bad because I'm like, the phrasing of what the barber corrects sounds more in line with something JT would say.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I don't trust Ryan because I don't know him and he seems so desperate for a storyline that I'm like, that's, like, dark shit. If he, like, even if he thought, it felt like he heard it and was like, ooh, I could, like, make that work.
Yeah, totally. That's exactly what I think as well. He was so desperate for a storyline that he had the absolute worst view of JT. He also wanted to sort of pile on and continue to make JT the monster of the season, despite us knowing for a fact that, like, 3 of the lies about JT or accusations against JT are already false at this point. So he wants to continue on. He thinks it's perfect fodder to continue this JT as a monster storyline.
And it also like victimizes Vanita.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, that's, like, fucked up to make her feel bad about something that he allegedly said. Like, now she has to deal with this as, like, her storyline.
And that's what JT says as well. He's like, I cannot believe that that Vanita had to hear about that. Someone that I truly care about had to hear that secondhand, which was not my intention. So, yeah, I really think that this was just an awful, horrendous mistake by Ryan to bring this up, and it just shows that he is absolutely desperate to make something happen on camera. It's just grasping at straws. But there's, like, because I'm trying to figure out what's going on with Vanita herself, because the girlfriend stuff is all a big question mark of, like, what she knew already or not.
She framed it as that she had been completely set up by the show, in that the Branzino dinner was after the Bahamas, and so anything she said there was she didn't know yet or whatever. But it's all kind of very confusing. So I personally, I'm not really outraged. And nothing she does is that outrageous to me that, like, I would be like, she's a homewrecker. Like, I'm like, it wasn't ever that serious. Like, I don't really care. Like, that's JT's problem to, like, deal with that. But then on the after show of this episode, she says she's starting to talk shit. Like, imagine having a girlfriend and letting your best friend pay $5,000 for your suit. And there's like a scene when she's helping him get styled at like that suit shop. And she says that she paid for it. And then Leva is like, did he pay you back? Did you get a Venmo? And she just sort of avoids answering the question and goes, that's my best friend, as if like she paid for it because she likes him so much. And then he commented and was like, I had left my wallet in my car and I had a cane. So she was like, I'll just pay for it and you can get me back. And then he shows the PayPal for like 4,000 whatever. And he's like, what the hell? So now I'm like, well, she is like trying to get in on the fun of like painting him to be bad. So now I'm like, it's all a mess.
Yeah, no, I mean, and again, and then there's the Sally thing or whatever, this stalker thing that I keep hearing that Ryan started. So I'm like, well, Ryan, maybe you're trying to defend yourself and be like, JT is actually a monster. So I was right in how I interpreted that Barber's comment, because also look what else he's doing on the side. He's trying to preemptively get ahead of what might have been a miscalculation on his part. But then the Sally thing, Sally keeps saying everywhere, she's like, he blackmailed me. He brought me to his home and he blackmailed me with evidence. And then JT had to respond to that and goes, she's never been to my home. I never blackmailed her, which again, I think JT is capable of blackmail?
She was talking about that dumbass post-trumpet party.
Yeah, right. The Airbnb thing where he said that she cheated on his on a friend that he knows with Gaston. Yeah. So I'm just like, I there's enough. I just think that they thought the worst of JT. They all hate him. They hated him after last season, and everyone assumed the worst, and it kept just adding more and more clouds of doubt to JT as a person, and he is one by one dismantling every lie they told about him, and eventually he just got completely fed up. He's like, what the fuck kind of show is this? You guys all just lie about me, about every single aspect of my life, to the point where I have to quit, where I'm being called out for not paying for a suit jacket with Vanita when I have the receipt here. I think he just got completely fed up. And then the worst case version of this is that you're accused of being racist on camera. So you can totally imagine why he got fed up. I do not know what is going on. I hope that there is Andy can possibly talk about each one of these lies about JT in real time, so we have people account for all of these.
Was he at the reunion?
Yeah, he's at the reunion.
He was. Okay.
Yeah. So it ends with JT being, fed up. Like I just said, he goes, I cannot believe this. What the hell is happening? I can't be around these snakes. He goes, it's Craig, it's Austin, it's Ryan. They are trying to ruin my reputation and my name. And so if he, like I already said, if he didn't quit after the Bahamas trip, this is definitely something that he would quit after. And it's quite possible that the next week's episode is we get Vanita and JT stuff when they picked up cameras to also get the Craig, Austin, and Shep post Paige breakup as well. Because I'm like, when did JT take time off? He's been in almost every episode. He's more prevalent now in the season than he was like halfway through.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how that all lines up. Maybe that will get answered at the reunion as well.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Vanita said that when she called him on her dog walk about the soiree, that when he was like, my girlfriend wouldn't like me going as your date, she says that she threw her phone onto her porch. Like, she was enraged.
Wow.
She also said that her mom really liked him because she came one day when they were doing confessionals and she got to meet him, and she said that she liked him. She also denied to the producer ever having sex with him. They really tried to get her to admit that, and she was like, I literally did not. But yeah, there's like, their dynamic is obviously messy no matter what. Like, whether he made her think that he was more available than he was, or if he had told her but didn't make it clear enough and she sort of was like, I'm gonna try anyway, or it's all because the timeline is in question. Now I like can't even have an opinion because I'm like, I don't know what you guys are up to, like whatever.
Yeah. No,
I also
who
don't
knows?
really care that much. I'm like, we don't know his girlfriend. She's not a character on the show, so I don't have any sort of loyalty. I don't know how serious their relationship is. I it's kind of just annoying that they couldn't just have dated and then the show would have had something to watch, you know?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, you said it best at the start. Like, this whole season is just such a mess that it's really hard to follow the dramatic moments and know what's real or not. The finale will probably be good because no matter what, we get the conversation with Craig talking about, the breakup with Paige, and hopefully we get some JT and Vanita clarification. There's also, I think this is when Shep and Molly kiss on camera, so it looks like it could be good, but I don't know if it's going to be great enough to make up for what was overall kind of a sloppy season of Southern Charm, one that you and I agree, has not been great.
I agree, yeah. No, whenever I see the preview and you see Craig saying, she told me to buy a ring, I'm always like, oh yeah, we have that still, thank God.
Yeah, so it'll probably be amazing just for that, to get the actual footage post breakup. But yeah, we'll see. So that's the finale next week. I can't believe we're already here.
I know. And then however many parts reunion. I would say that it doesn't need to be more than 2. Although if there's going to be a ton of back and forth on some of these topics, it might take 3.
Yeah, JT gets a full part.
Yeah, and Craig and Paige get like half an episode probably.
Yeah. Okay, how do you feel about us talking, high level about episode 2 of this new season of Real Housewives of Atlanta? Unfortunately, a little bit of context, I think you sent me this. Atlanta had the worst premiere ratings of all time, for in Atlanta's history with
Brutal.
that premiere that we watched last week.
I think historically Atlanta always has the highest numbers of any housewives. Like if you compare over the years, the most people watched that of any of the cities. So it's a fall far from grace, although I guess that makes sense if the numbers to start were higher. Then when it's all new people, they have a longer way to fall than some of the other cities.
Yes.
But I'm still getting used to the whatever this new iteration is. It just looks and feels different. Did you notice the confessionals are like green screen? I mean, I think they often are, but they take it to a new level on this where it shows full body. It's not just like chest up. So their chair is like floating in space in their house.
Yeah, I saw that. They show more. Yeah, it's because they're full bodied, right?
Yeah.
So it shows more of the house, and it looks a little
The
odd.
perspective is all fucked. Like it's like Cynthia in her like tree house, whatever they call that house, and like the chair is just like like they have a photo of her house and then they placed her chair onto the living room and it just looks all fucked up and weird. And then I was like, oh, they did that for everyone and it looks bizarre.
Yeah, yes, totally. Yeah, there's a different kind of feel to this season so far, and I am like you. We're like getting acquainted with everyone, so it hasn't really started to hit its stride yet. I do like all of the cast members still, all of the new cast members. I think the main, conflict this episode, if we want to just start with that, is that it looks like Drew purposefully, and Dennis as well, have purposefully created a relationship or a partnership, some nebulous collaboration to benefit both of them and their screen time on this season to the detriment of Portia's storyline in a way, where Dennis is basically like, I want to get on Real Housewives of Atlanta no matter how I can to promote various businesses, and so if you weren't going to bring me to the forefront, Drew was willing to do that. And I'm not even entirely sure if the music collaboration is what this is about, or if it's just that they are business partners, because they like she brings up that she was going to do like a go naked photo shoot or something, and I was just like, I think the main issue, which Portia has to break the fourth wall for, is that she didn't want Dennis filming with anyone else, because we've seen this happen before on different franchises. It's like when Johnny J started filming with Alexis Bellino to spite Shannon, not in such a dramatic way, but Portia's just like, what the hell are you doing to me? And to me, it makes Drew look worse that she knew that Portia was going to be a new cast member coming on this show, and she knew that she was going to get some iconic Portia-related content by having this association with Dennis, no matter what it is. Do you agree with me about that?
Drew is not trustworthy.
No, and I really think that I really feel like Drew, she has a confidence issue, because like the Ralph stuff is very potent. I have never seen anything like that. Ralph, are you okay down there? He's down in the basement. They're splitting custody within the house. They've got that judge app. Like, Drew has a lot going on, and I don't really think that she needed to add this Dennis aspect to it. And I at the end, I felt really bad for Portia, that in addition to the Simon shit that she's having to reckon with on camera, where he's already limiting her what she can film on camera by not letting her be in the house, and he's talking shit about her all on the sides, and all of a sudden Dennis's loyalty now is aligned with Drew. I kind of understood Portia's reaction to that throughout the episode.
Yeah, I will say, so like it basically starts out, it's at the birthday party still, and they broach this conversation like pretty immediately. Portia gets pissed. She calls Drew a low down, dirty individual, and also a awful, slimy ass bitch. And so the title of this episode is Hot Dogs and Hot Mics. And I was waiting till the bitter end for the hot mic moment. I was like, am I missing something? Like, what the fuck is going on? And it's that at the very end of the episode, she has the same conversation with Dennis. And I don't know about you, but I was extremely underwhelmed with the hot mic moment, because it was the same. It wasn't like something crazy was revealed because they didn't know they were mic'd. They were having the same conversation still, where she goes like, you're using my own platform against me. Like, don't film with anyone else. It's going to be a problem. It's insane for you to do this with another housewife or whatever. And he goes, we're on the hot mic. And I'm like, yeah, but you already talked about this.
Right. Yeah, it was stretching the term hot mic. I think that they are enjoying how many fourth wall breaks there are already, and that they know that Portia is only talking about the filming aspect, so they have to get that included. But yeah, I don't necessarily think that this meets the hallmarks of a classic hot mic moment. They both know they're mic'd, and they continue to have the same conversation that they already had.
Yeah, just because there weren't cameras in the car, I was like, okay, you were telling him don't film with another housewife. Got it. You already said that, both to Drew and to him 10 minutes before this.
Yeah. So, and then Dennis does say, to clarify a little bit, he says, Drew was supposed to come out with an album. I was going to be, I did some work on the album, or I was a part of it. So it was going to line up perfectly with us having scenes together, releasing the album. I think something happened with where the album was possibly delayed. So now their partnership and collaboration is being brought up before they actually were able to show off what it was that they were working on. So it kind of messed up the entire timeline. But either way, it makes sense to me, again, that Portia says, where is the loyalty to me? Like, you and I should be having scenes together. And she's completely, she's pissed at Drew that she would do this to her, which I understand.
Yeah. Cynthia reminds us that Drew has been caught in many lies. This would not be the first. Which it is so weird. Just like Cynthia and Kenya are just like sitting around. Like, I'm just like, oh, hello.
Yeah, well, apparently, Kenya, I think we talked about this last week, but Kenya probably had way more scenes than this. She had confessionals, she had home life stuff that was filmed, and they just completely cut her out of it because they are weaning us off of Kenya because she's going to get fired halfway through. But having said that, Kenya still has a lot of screen time.
Mm-hmm.
Even though there's no confessionals, she gets a full sit down with Portia that they just had to include because they know that they have to see this on camera. Because I loved seeing in Portia and Kenya have that moment together where they're finally over this years long feud that they've had, and they've come to respect each other as icons of this franchise, which I really liked.
It is weird though, because since she doesn't. Kenya doesn't have a confessional? I didn't notice that. Yeah.
No, I don't think
guess
she does.
that's why I felt that it was so strange that she felt muted, because Portia's telling her all this crazy stuff about Simon and like his weird Instagram posts, and that he was like in a stolen car that he didn't know and he needs to be more careful because he has a green card. And I was like, Kenya was just like, and I was like, oh yeah, if she did have a confessional, she would have been saying the most heinous shit imaginable.
Absolutely. She would have been having so much fun in her confessionals about all this stuff. Man, I kind of feel bad for Simon. It sounds like he wanted a full like crash out house husbands moment where he was like taking everything to task, and like no one really cared because it was off season. So like we don't give a shit about what Simon was saying, but they showed like 50 posts. Kenya was like, I'm getting notifications from Simon like every other day where he's talking shit about Portia. I feel like he completely lost all of the moments he could have had because they just didn't film any aspect of his relationship with Portia. So no one really cares.
I mean, the red flags couldn't have been more clear. I cannot believe she married him. She said that she was like his fifth wife. One of them was like a fake marriage. He had like all of these like problems with the law. Like he was just clearly a problem. Yeah,
absolutely. And they're going through, a rough divorce, it seems like. Anything else? So that was those were the main things that they talked about. Drew versus Portia with Dennis. There were a couple more moments throughout the episode to introduce us to the new cast members. So I feel like everyone got their own scene. Kelly got a scene to explain what the hell she's up to. I really liked Britt's scene with her husband talking about when they're going to have a child together and if they're going to move into another house. So far, I think Britt is my favorite addition to the cast so far, just from what I've seen.
The insurance icon. She's coming for Vicky's crown.
Oh, totally. And then there was a moment later in the episode where Drew takes Shamia and Angela to the gym, and you can tell that they are all trying to make an iconic moment or make conflict happen as much as possible, especially Angela. Yeah. I'd almost say she goes a little too far. You can tell that she's just actively picking a fight with Shamia by calling her Portia's assistant. It definitely seems like one of the pre-written things that you would accuse Shamia of if you were trying to take her down, is being the assistant to Portia, because that's kind of how she's been defined for the entire franchise. And then Drew, in her confessional, really certifies it and says that if you looked up a lap dog in the dictionary, you would get a picture of Shamia next to that word. And I was like, damn, well, major shots fired to Shamia. She's not going to like that when she sees that confessional.
Yeah. My favorite thing is, I mean, they showed them working out for a while, but there was a large portion of this where they were sitting on the floor talking shit, which is one of my favorite Housewives tropes. Yeah. But yeah, we get like, Kelly's opening up a new location of her chicken and waffles restaurant. Then we get the Shamia like surrogacy storyline is her big subplot, where it's revealed that she met her surrogate through Candy, who also used her. And this surrogate, Shadina, owns a surrogacy agency with Dr. Jackie from Married to Medicine. I was like, that's interesting.
Yes.
And there's like all this like horrible like medical terror going on, that the Shamia's surrogate was diagnosed with breast cancer while she was 36 weeks pregnant with her baby. And I was like, Jesus Christ. I was like, that's not even something I could ever imagine. And so they're talking about like that Shamia tried herself like many, many times. She had 7 rounds of IVF. She had an ectopic pregnancy, which is like horrible. Yeah. And she still has 4 embryos. So she's probably going to do it again. And I'm like, all these people are stressing me out with their like high risk birth plans.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh no, totally. It was about as sad as it gets for me. This entire situation. Your empathy goes to everyone involved, and Shamia actually did. She was amazing in this scene. The compassion she showed for Shadina going through that, and then Shadina tries to like almost she wonders what if the cancer could have been some issue, for the pregnancy, and Shamia just gives her full grace and just says that is absolutely nothing you ever need to think about. I feel I have empathy for you as well, and so I was like, okay, Shamia, that you killed it. That scene that was very beautiful and sweet.
Yeah, it's an interesting area. I watched at least one season of Married to Medicine, maybe a little more, and I did like it. I feel like it's one in the background that I'm always like, I should be watching this probably. I think it's like secretly better than a lot of other shows, and I just kind of fell off at one point, but I should get back on.
I should too.
Yeah, it's good. I also am obsessed. Is it Kelly or Britt that has that pink dog?
I thought about it because I said, whose dog was that? I believe that's Kelly's dog, because Britt brings her own wonderful dog, and then all of a sudden you see Pink Dog bound up from the stairs or wherever, and I do think that is Kelly's wonderful, sweet dog. I love that.
Is wild, that little creature. And then it basically they talk about all of the drama. Sorry, I'm still trying to keep who does what straight, but Britt is the one that's gonna get. No, wait, Britt's already married, or she got married, but she didn't have a ceremony. That's what they were talking about.
Yes, Britt wants to have a wonderful ceremony because they got married during COVID, unfortunately, so they just had to go to the courthouse. So she's planning a huge ceremony for her. I mean, this has happened before on franchises where, but what a great excuse for it. I'll allow it. If you didn't have a ceremony during COVID, this is the perfect time, and I want to see it on this season of Atlanta, so that'll be nice.
And then Kelly gives us another little taste. It doesn't sound like she wants to get too much into it, but she said it before, and she brings it up again, that her divorce sucked ass, that her ex took a lot of money from her, that there was like police involved, that it just sucked. So I don't know if she'll open up more about that, but she seems traumatized.
Yes.
And then the episode ends with Portia and Dennis with their daughter at like a climbing gym, and they talk about the Drew of it all. And she says, that they do have a great co-parenting relationship. She says that he's basically like a brother at this point. And until it goes awry, they seem to be communicating pretty well, better than most.
Yeah, no, I think so too. They seem to have a very good relationship, and she says that they do it all, for their daughter. And that's why I'm like, Dennis, I mean, this is not a good move to sully your relationship at this stage with Portia, so that you can have some scenes in a studio with Drew where an album is going to come out. It's just not worth it. You could have so many more dynamic, compelling scenes with Portia. Not to talk about it this like clinically, but just like not a great decision. And if you were worried that you weren't going to be featured on Portia's end, that is such a bad rationale to justify yourself filming scenes with Drew. You're doing exactly what Portia does not want you to do. So we'll see. I hope that Dennis will say, my loyalty is to Portia, and I'm sorry I made that strategic decision. And also, this album isn't even coming out, so this business relationship I have with Drew makes no sense. Yeah. Drew, it also seems like Drew wants a little bit. Talk about having cake and eating it too. I feel like Drew slightly wanted there to be whispers and rumors that she might be starting a relationship with Dennis, even though it doesn't seem like that is the case at all, just because she knows at this point it is more fodder and more tangentially related conflict she can have with Portia, who is an OG that she knows is going to be at the forefront of this new season. So as many connections as you have to Portia is more conflict you would get for a season where you might possibly be fired like the rest of the cast before you. You're hanging on by a thread at this point, potentially.
Yeah, she was like, Dennis has been an angel on earth for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to understand, especially because they haven't truly clarified what it is, and they haven't had a scene together yet. You know, it's like you would think that those would be the first scenes that they had, would be Drew and Dennis doing stuff together, but instead it's all of them talking about it so far. So anyway, I mean, I have high hopes for this season. I feel like it's such a huge adjustment still, and we're like at the first 5 minutes of what is ultimately this season is going to be about.
Yeah. For sure. But yeah, it's going to take me a while to settle in and feel secure. And then it's like whatever's going to happen with Kenya is to come. Like, are they even going to talk about it, or it's like illegal to talk about it?
I think that they show this. I'm almost positive in the trailer they have the scene where a big blurred out image is there during Kenya's scene. So I definitely think they're going to include it. And I think they're going to have to tell the audience at a certain point, because that's one of the huge things that happened in the Atlanta's off season that we all know about. So I'm sure they're going to have to explain it, what happened there.
Sure.
So good. Yeah. So, I feel good about that. Do you think that you and I completed the Turtle Time mission of recapping 2 Bravo shows that aired since the last time you and I spoke?
I think so.
Great. Well, I'll just say, if for some reason this was the first episode you ever listened to, maybe you want to hear our commentary about Atlanta and you said, I'm going to check out this Turtle Time podcast. Well, let me just say, if you loved what you heard here, there's this kind of this sanctuary on Patreon called the Turtle Time Patreon, where if you give us $5 a month, you get access and you become a Vanderpump. Oh, I'm so sorry. A Villa Rosa VIP, and you get access to an entire archive of content where Amy and I have been recapping Vanderpump Rules from the very beginning. There are probably over 100 episodes. We just released one on Monday that I think people are enjoying and having fun and talking about. And then we have this kind of community there where we can talk to our Villa Rosa VIPs, and we can answer questions, or they can tell us when we made a mistake on an episode or what they loved. And it's kind of a wonderful community, I'd say, the Villa Rosa VIP community.
Yeah, I would join if I weren't the leader of it.
I know. Yes, me too. And then also, if you enjoyed Turtle Time and you haven't gotten a chance yet, why not take about 10 to 15 or 30 seconds and write a review if you enjoy us. I don't know where you can write a review. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere that it allows you to review. That really helps Amy and I get on other people's radar and
yes.
Happen organically. Well, thank you, Amy, so much for being with me and talking to me today. Do you have any fun plans?
I already did my St. Patty's activities on Saturday, so I can just chill tonight.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But anyway, Amy, thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon. And Little Turtle Cuties and Villa Rosa VIPs, thank you for joining us. Goodbye.
Bye.